7:38 West African time. This is Daybreak. Thank you for staying with us. Now, President Bola Tinubu has called for a Federal Executive Council committee to move swiftly and implement measures to further reduce food prices across the nation. Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi, disclosed this in Abuja. According to him, the directive focuses on ensuring the safe passage of farm produce across transport routes to cut logistics costs. Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, has faced worsening food insecurity since the removal of fuel subsidy. High transport costs and insecurity on major highways disrupted the movement of goods. Now, despite government interventions, food remains largely unaffordable for millions of Nigerians.
To you that the president has given a marching order with a Federal Executive Council committee already handling this on how we are going to promote safe passage of agricultural foods and commodities across our various routes in the country. Because we are aware, and I'm sure as media you are also aware, there are routes in which when commodities are taken before they are delivered, if you know the amount of money that is being spent, you can now understand why those commodities have to be expensive at the point of delivery.
Well, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has made it clear that food security is central to his renewed hope agenda. To discuss more on the crashing of food and the setting up of this committee, we have live in the studio the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Senator Abubakar Kyari. Thank you for joining us on Arise News Daybreak.
Thank you very much.
So, first now, when we look at the situation, I'll take you back to the controversy in 2024 when the immediate past president of the African Development Bank said that Nigeria cannot import its way out of poverty. And we are still importing. Honorable Minister, could you react to this quickly?
Well, let me just say thank you very much for having me, and good morning, viewers. The issue of importation is, of course, there are tools if you want to take care of some of the structural imbalances, especially in the sector, in the agricultural sector. I have said it before, even he himself, the former president of African Development Bank, during his tenure, he also imported. So there are tools to manage what you have. And what we had at that time, Mr. President, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came at a time when there was a huge structural default in terms of food security, and that was why he declared the clarion call, the emergency on food security in July 2023. And of course, food availability, food prices is a matter of its economics. It's availability, supply and demand. And as a country, this huge Nigeria, we had so much demand and the availability was not there. And one of the reasons that we intervention was to ramp up production and at the same time import to make up the difference, because there's not all food crops we have absolute production capacity. Rice, for instance, we have about 15% difference gap in terms of demand and what we can supply in country. So the importation window was only for 6 months, and it came and gone, and that was, I would say, the amount that was imported when you look at the global demand field is not as much as it will make farmers discouraged to go into agricultural production. And government has stepped in and had mechanisms to support the farmers. For instance, while that was going on, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also ordered the central bank to release 2 million bags of fertilizer to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture for onward delivery to farmers, free of charge, at zero cost. And that was done. And so at the end of the day, when you look at it, there were so many interventions. We had so many programs that supported farmers. We had the NAGS program that subsidized fertilizer 50% for farmers, and so on and so forth. So there was a lot of production in 2024, and I could say broadly that prices have crashed.
Honorable Minister, let me step in at this point, especially when we're talking about ramping up production and all the logistics surrounding that. We duly acknowledge the efforts made by this administration. However, there have been some concerns that have been leveled against some of these interventions, especially around mechanization when we talk about tractors specifically. There were the implements from Belarus that were launched by the president in June of this year, and the farmers as of just a couple of weeks ago, were complaining that they have not yet been released. We've also seen commitments from John Deere. We've seen commitments from Brazil under the Green Imperative program. So there have been several commitments made. But what the farmers are asking is, where are the implements? They're not seeing the tractors. They're not seeing all the tools that we celebrate in the media as achievements. They're not getting to where they need to go. Where are the lapses here?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct, Mr. President. Commissioned those 2,000 tractors and 9 different implements to go with 9,000 different implements to go with those 2,000 tractors. But at the time that commissioning was done, you would agree with me that land preparation for the wet season had passed, had gone. Nobody would use a tractor at that time. So, and logistics for distribution of the tractors is being worked out. These tractors are not going to be there for show. We are working on modalities where we're going to have trackers on these tractors. They will be geo-fenced, they will be geo-located. Anybody who had been allocated that tractor must have a specific number of hours that he can cultivate in terms of hectares and number of hours a year. If you own, for instance, if you own an 80 or 100 hectare farm and you are allocated a tractor can do almost 500 hectares a year. So we must make sure that in your own locality, because you are getting these tractors at a concessionary price, at a subsidized price. So you must also pass on those prices to your neighbors, those that cannot afford the tractors, but you would have to do that. So we're working out the modalities, and very soon we're going to roll out these tractors so that we can face especially the dry season and all year round farming that Mr. President is encouraging. Now, let me even talk about the Green Imperative. Yeah, she mentioned the Green Imperative. Mr. President had been to Brazil 3 times so far, and at every point, it's Green Imperative as is at the forefront. Now, for emphasis, Green Imperative started way back in 2017. But believe me, within the last 2 years, what Green Imperative, even the Brazilians were surprised, the traction that it had achieved under Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Never has it been what had been done within the last 8 years. In these past 2 years, we have gotten to a point where we had signed agreements, we had signed MOUs, and now what we're looking at is the funding mechanism for the Green Imperative program, which is in the first instance about $1 billion.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Now, speaking about all these partnerships that Nigeria is having, I understand that recently, earlier in this week to be precise, the federal government was in partnership with countries like Germany and the European Union to actually officially launch a project that, is big on EU-based TAD, is big on agricultural sector and, climate smart practices. Can you give more information on this? More specifically, my question is this. What do these countries have to offer, such as Germany and the European Union as a whole? What are they bringing when Nigeria has been producing a lot of its food for decades? How is this a partnership? Is it only the financial aspects, or is there more to it that you can give clarity on?
Well, let me say one of the areas that we're looking at in terms of climate change impacts, agriculture and livestock has remained the most critical victims of the shocks of climate change. But in most cases, it has never gotten to that global stage. Even last COP, I went COP28 in Dubai. I tried to find out more about what are the solutions, what are the areas that we can get assistance on especially the shocks of the impacts of climate change. I was in Rome on Monday, just this past Monday, where the Global Environment Facility of the Food and Agriculture Organization and the UNFCCC, we had an event where 90 countries were represented, and Nigeria was at the flagship of that, because Nigeria is an important country in Africa. Africa is...
Senator Kyari?
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much. So I just need to jump in here very quickly. As I understand what you're saying about the importance of Nigeria, but I want to talk about something you launched recently. Our food loss, post-harvest food loss is up to $10 billion.
Yes.
Yeah, last year, the Minister of State said that the president wants no Nigerian to go hungry. However, you just launched a program and we're looking at a 10-year roadmap. What have you done in the interim to make sure that post-harvest food loss is reduced in Nigeria?
Well, post-harvest food loss, let me just quickly run into that. I presented that legacy project just last week in Dakar at the African Food Summit, where we are looking for investors both locally and also internationally, in terms of, you see, the whole mantra here is try to get private sector involved. Government cannot sustain everything. Like, for instance, the silos that we have for food storage, which is also another way of mitigating post-harvest losses, is we have 33 silo sites. 17 had been concession. Just yesterday, we had a meeting with the ICRC, who are the concessionaires of the 17 silo sites. Only 3 are performing out of the 17. So we're looking at those provisions of the concession and to see how we can now call those concessionaires on board, see what were the problems, what are the problems, why are they not performing. We have 1.3 million tons of storage capacity, and we think we need much more, because we are producing over 50 million tons of grains, and we have only 1.3 million tons of silo storage. And I think what we need to do here is not only on those large-scale silos, we need to bring those silos closer to the grassroots, closer to the farmer.
Okay. Honorable Minister, just to get some clarity now, because of the disturbing statistics surrounding food security, we have a situation where food inflation is about 22%, which is, well, we could say an improvement.
How much was it for last year?
It was 39%, actually.
Thank you.
But it's still a bit worrying. And to think that Nigeria, with its arable land, contributes just 24% of the nation's GDP. When we also look at the food supply chain, talking about from the farm production, distribution, and markets, we observe that the cost of fertilizer now, which is about 50,000 naira per bag, is very disturbing. And that is why we are having an incursion of portfolio farmers that are not really interested in selling their produce now, are interested in storage and waiting for a time where they could sell at a hoarding price. What are you doing to reform this supply chain to address Nigeria's food security issue?
I thank you for mentioning those portfolio farmers, and this is what we're trying to do. We've already signed an MOU with the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, and also we're working together with various wide sectors of trying to make sure verify our farmer data, farmer register, not only on farmer register but also farmland registry, because you would not see a farmland that is cultivated that does not have a farmer. But you would see a farm, like you said, you just mentioned portfolio farmers, briefcase farmers, political farmers, whatever you want to call it. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to get all the inputs and support that government gives, whether it's government or development partners, for instance, NGOs, so that it gets to the right farmer. And this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop that data. And we have already started working. We're going to do the pilot scheme in Nasarawa State very soon, 300,000 farmers in the first instance. But what we want to do globally is about 6 million farmers. And I think by the time this registry, this data is in place, there are data all over the place. What we're trying to do is to verify those data. There will be, want to have geolocation of those data, those farmlands, the type of soils, the type of fertilizer that particular location requires, what type of crops these farmers So that whenever you want to do any intervention, you have primary data, you have also secondary data to look at. So we're trying to target and make sure that these items get to the real intended farmer. And what we call the farmers today is the first mile. No, some people say to the last mile. But that is where the production of food begins. So, and you're talking about when Mr. President made that clarion call. So, okay.
So many questions. Wimbai, could we?
Yeah. So many questions. We'll bring it back to Lagos. Honorable Minister, your hot property this morning. So we want to make sure that Nigerians get as many answers as possible from you. Now, in speaking about data collection and ensuring that these dividends reach the intended people, I still take the conversation back to the tractors, because especially the ones from Belarus that were inaugurated in June, so which is just over 3 months ago. We're now getting to 3 months. Are you telling me that it takes 3 months to create the necessary modalities to distribute tractors? Is our database so shallow?
No. Don't misconstrue what I said. We have 2,000 tractors. For the first time in the history of this nation, there was no time. Over 20,000, there's 2,000 tractors, 9,000 different implements, 9,000 different sets of spare parts and mobile workshops. And mind you, we signed this contract in September 2024. We're looking at September 2025. They have been delivered, and we're going to roll it out very soon. So it's not as if, something that had been there.
But so they haven't been delivered to the farmers. We can't say they've been delivered because they haven't reached the farm yet.
The contractors have delivered to the federal government of Nigeria, to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security.
Yes, but not to the farmers.
Not to the farmers.
Why?
No, but we are working on modalities of financing. I mean, Bank of Agri has just been reorganized, is under reorganization, and we're going to channel, because there are issues of financing, for instance. Now, it's not, look at what has happened in the past. Tractors were given out, and tractors being end up across the border.
Okay, we'll come to that.
We have to make sure that these tractors are secured, and they are performing, and they're going to produce.
Honorable Minister, we cannot end this interview without talking about federal government audacious reforms in the shea production industry, which Nigeria contributes about 50% of the world production in shea. And
thank you very much. But how much value?
6 months,
which
has a potential of about
how much value do we get from that share?
But 6 months break, 6 months ban, isn't it too much of a bureaucratic price?
And
for
Benga, just to buttress what you're saying
reform
as well, the farmers are complaining that the price has dropped as well. So what are the support that you're offering to these farmers that are complaining that because of the export ban, the price has crashed?
Let's look at it from every time there are reforms that are very good for the public, for the farmers, for Nigeria, there's bound to be some opposition. I have seen, we have met some of the issues that say we have had, contract agreements to supply these things. You would have given us time and doing that. But when we ask them, where are the items? Where are they? Let's go and verify those items. If you say you have so containers at the port waiting for export, let's go and see them and verify them. But you just can't open up on a piece of paper and just say, you have this, you have that. These are, why should we continue exporting our raw materials? The same thing, this shea nut they are doing, they all go there and only heat it and make it into shea butter. Why can't we develop those? And there's the processing capacity in country. So let's take advantage of that and provide jobs and create jobs for our people. Not to take raw materials and export and go and give. What you're talking about, Benga, is that we produce 40% of the total shea nut capacity in this world. But we're only getting only 1% income on that. So let's process and add value to it.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. Senator Kyari, Honorable Minister of Agriculture. Now, before you leave, just one quick answer. By what date should the farmers expect the tractors? As
when they apply for the tractors, we would apply. We'll give them, and we have other customers too. We have farm estates we're going to develop under NALDA. We're going to have some of our agricultural institutions that will be given so that they will continue their research and development on
Senator Abubakar Kyari, the morning show crew are standing at the door right now waiting for us to excuse ourselves. We thank you so much for your time. Of course, we do support the journey to food security in Nigeria. Thank you for your efforts. We will continue to hold you accountable, though.
No problem.
That's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Bimbai Mutidiri Akweyong.
And I'm Gbenga Ashiru saying thank you for coming, and also goodbye on Daybreak.
Well, I'm Adesu Agiwasage. Thank you for joining us at TGIF.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.